Welcome to the Power of Oxygen First, the podcast that helps you stop running on empty and start leading your life and business with intention. I'm your host, Dot Rock, founder of Dot Rock Consulting and creator of the Chief Energy Officer approach. And around here, we believe that putting on your oxygen mask first isn't selfish, it's essential. Each week, we'll explore what it really means to build a sustainable, soul-aligned life. From letting go of what's draining you, to learning how to receive support, to growing a business that feels like home. So take a deep breath. You're right where you're meant to be. Well, hello, my Pod Squad friends. Welcome to the Power of Oxygen First. I am so excited to be recording this episode. As always, it is actually a Friday night here, and my son is outside doing chores, cleaning up dog poop, to be exact, which feels oddly nourishing to me because that is also the topic. It's about receiving support and this little art of asking for what we need and honoring that part of ourselves. The two can actually go hand in hand, which I know is shocking, but so very true. So, what I'm wanting to do today is I'm going to just start with a little story about support. Again, Friday night, I've got my candle lit. I'm actually having a glass of wine, which is kind of rare for me on a Friday night, but it just felt really nourishing for me tonight. And I am soaking this in. I'm like the rest of you, fairly confused about what time of year it is right now. When I'm recording this podcast, it is February in Colorado, and we had a 67-degree weather day today. The fact that the Winter Olympics are starting tonight is crazy to me because it feels like spring. But I digress. I want to talk about support. I want to talk about this mutual exchange of energy that happens when we ask for what we need and someone else gives it to us or nourishes us with their gifts and or pours into us because they ask to and we allow them to. It's actually really hard to grow that muscle, but something that is so very important. Okay, so for me, again, we moved 6 months ago now to a new town, 7.5 hours away from where we used to live. I had been in the Durango, Colorado community for almost 29 years, and I knew a lot of people and I had a lot of connections, and I had the ability to pretty much ask someone for a recommendation for anything. Now, I have relocated, and what happens to still be true is that if I let myself feel comfortable asking, I still have people I can ask for things. And so here we are, 6 months in, and I am ready to scale up my team again. I really dialed back once we moved here just so that I had more time and energy to settle in, to create a new pace, and to set up this new house in this new world. And now I'm working more, which is amazing. You know, last year my son was in the hospital 4 different times. He missed like 20 to 21 weeks of sixth grade, which is most of sixth grade if you do the math. And so my ability to really consistently grow my business was non-existent. I could barely keep up with the work that I had. And so I've really kind of dug out of that lately, and new things are starting in my business. And I am really, really excited about what is coming, which I will share in a new episode very soon. Not this one. I'm not quite ready to tell you guys, but I will. I really will. It's still pretty vulnerable actually to just like share where my business is, but that's another story for another day. Okay. So the reality is I do have people here in my new town that I could ask for recommendations. And so I was just really journaling recently and realizing that the support I want the very most, which actually doesn't make the most business sense on paper with my CPA brain, is actually to hire a cleaning lady. Okay. So I got real clear on this like 2 months ago that cleaning lady was next. I've been using a handyman for all kinds of projects around the house to get things set up, to hang curtains, to, install things that needed to be installed and get fixed, and dishwashers and all the things, right? But it's time to hire a cleaning lady, and it's also time for me to hire what we call a mother's helper. If you're not familiar with a mother's helper, they're amazing. You can have people stop by the house, fold clothes, do laundry, put things away, wipe counters, keep up with dishes, do errands, return packages for just a couple hours a week. So I live in a university town, so I knew that that was something that I could find the right person for. But let me remind you that delegating without systems is just hiring expensive babysitters. I'll record an entire podcast on that in the future. But if we don't have systems in place, these other things are kind of a waste of money. But I've got enough systems in place now in this house that it's time to hire a house cleaner. So I asked for a referral from my realtor, who has just been absolutely incredible. I think the way you say his last name is Crisafoli. So Danny Crisafoli. I might be saying that wrong. I'll drop a link in my show notes so that you know how to get in touch with him if you are ever looking for a home in Fort Collins. But that group, that real estate group has been incredible. They have hooked me up with a handyman and everything else that I have needed since moving here. And they did not disappoint with a cleaner. So I just recognize that honestly, what I need the most support in is cleaning the house. And I've hired enough support in the past that I am well past the learning curve that it has to make financial sense to make the hire. Because what happens to me when I walk into a clean house that I did not clean, if I leave the house for a day and I come home and it is clean, the amount of energy that pours into my life and into my heart and my ability to impact the world and do business faster, smarter, and make more money is exponential. I would call this a quantum leap. So I finally called the person that I asked Danny, my realtor, to recommend back in August when I first moved here. I knew that was going to be my first big hire other than a handyman and other house support, like, lawn care stuff and, a sprinkler guy, right? And so it was time. And here I am. I finally had the courage to do it this week. And of course, I teach people how to hire. I know how to do this. And also, let me just be real, it is still really uncomfortable because the numbers don't always make sense. But I do know that energetically it makes sense, and I always end up making more money because I've made these decisions. There is something beautiful about nourishing ourselves through hiring support or through exchanging support or for asking what we need, just for asking. So she called me back, and I cannot tell you how nourished I feel. The cleaning lady is like a fairy godmother. She sends a crew in. They work around my budget. They will come as often as I want, but for now, I want every 3 weeks for a good clean. And they will change sheets. I just have to tell them what I want. They will wash towels, wash blankets, wash floor rugs, all of it. I just have to ask. So, and they're going to be using my cleaning supplies, which also feels good to me because I have a lot of toxin allergies, not allergies, but sensitivities. I'm a redhead, you guys. If you didn't know, obviously, if you're watching this on video, you do know that. But after my mold toxicity journey and battling liver failure and being put on the transplant list, you guys, a couple years ago, I'm just a lot more careful about what I surround myself with. So I'm excited that they're going to do all of that. The price point is absolutely mind-blowing to me that I can get this level of support. Because I can make a lot more an hour if I am not juggling everything. Right. And there is something about working for me and knowing that other things are being done behind the scenes. So I just want to encourage you that if there is something you've just really wanted to do, like take your clothes to the dry cleaner or have your groceries delivered, that's another thing that I love to do, have my groceries delivered. I've got some preset grocery lists, and I just, especially if it's going to be a busy week, I just have that kind of delivered. I know I can put it away on a Sunday and be ready for the week and get like 1 hour of meal prep done. Again, meal prep is something that you could actually have a mother's helper do, but we will dive into mother's helpers on a whole other episode as well. Okay. So I just wanted to share that with you before we talk about why delegation is so important. And we're going to dive into my freebie that you can go access on rockconsulting.com. I have a support and breathe calculator. It's a return on investment calculator. And what does that mean? That means I help you break down who to hire, how to hire, and what your time is actually worth. But before we do so, let's once again talk a little bit about support. And I just want to remind you, support is not always something that you hire. Sometimes support looks like asking a neighbor for help, trading childcare with somebody, saying yes when somebody offers to do something for you, even though that might feel really uncomfortable. Open up your heart and receive it, my friends. I had a friend ask if they could make me dinner recently, and that was so uncomfortable for me. But I cannot tell you how nourished and loved I felt when I walked in the doors and had dinner ready with a smile and a person standing there who I really care about, right? So please just say yes when someone offers, when someone's sick, or when you're sick. When you offer, don't you want them to take you up on it, that you could bring them soup? And, don't forget, sometimes just show up for people, just take them the soup. Don't ask for permission. But support looks like letting someone do something their way instead of yours to pour into you. Okay? And support is actually just very simple. It's a form of love, and it is simply an exchange of energy. I give to you, you receive. We see each other. I'm grateful. You feel good because you poured into me. I feel good because you poured into me, right? And the pouring, the act of doing something for others is always raising our vibration. It makes us feel better because when it's aligned, it actually doesn't drain anyone. It nourishes everyone. Now, I'm not talking about people who are overgivers. I'm a recovering overgiver, but I will forever overgive probably to the people I love the very most. They're always going to receive that from me, but I'm not pouring from an empty tank anymore, right? I fill myself up in other ways, like hiring a cleaner. And that's why I say support isn't a cost. It's actually circulation. It is actually an equal exchange of energy, and it's beautiful. Okay, so if oxygen first, which is the premise of this podcast, is the belief that energy comes before execution. When we're supported, we think more clearly, we make better decisions, we show up with more patience, creativity, and presence in everything that we do. That's why the house cleaner is feeling so nourishing, right? That's why I'm more excited to hire the next person on my work team because I feel supported in other ways. And when we're not supported, we don't just feel tired. we start building businesses and lives that cost us more than they give us back. We start feeling resentful to our children when we Uber drive them around. So that is why I created this little freebie. I wanted to help you do the math, to help you do the actual like accounting math, numbers math, and energetic math. I created the Support and Breathe return on investment calculator because I really noticed something. People want support. People need support, but they hesitate. They feel so much resistance around it. Obviously, I do too. And that resistance is not about math. It's actually deeper. Just like everything else, we don't have relationship problems just because we're jerks. We have it because we have childhood stuff. And the resistance you have to hiring support isn't about math, it's about worth, self-worth, self-safety, and giving yourself permission. So, this little series of podcasts I'm going to record about this return on investment calculator is just here to meet you so that you can walk yourself through the calculator, right? So, okay, for the first thing you're going to do is go to rockconsulting.com and find the Support and Breathe calculator. It's one of the little drop down tabs. And you're going to start simply. We're not going to go too far into the calculator today. I don't want to overwhelm you. I just want you to start gently. I want you to think about doing something nourishing. Pour yourself a glass of wine, if that's nourishing, a big glass of water with lemon, a turmeric latte, a glass of, I don't know, bubbly, a coffee, a mocktail, something. I want you to pour yourself a drink and have it stack. Something that you love with opening this calculator. That's something that might be a little hard for you, but I'm here to support you. Once you have the calculator open, the first section that you're going to click on is calculating your hourly rate. And you're going to open to this section to calculate that. And if you don't have it in front of you, that's fine. Just listen. I'm just going to walk you through it. Most people don't actually know what their time is worth, right? That's what this is going to help you do. People will say things to me like, I don't work hourly. I'm an entrepreneur. Well, that feels really uncomfortable. And I should just be able to do all of this myself. Let me tell you, people, we're not intended to do it all ourselves. And I can clean well, but I can't do everything well. And when I'm doing everything, something is not being maximized, like my business. I can have a lot of impact, but I can't have a clean house and have a lot of impact. Something gives because we only have so much time. So here's the truth. If you don't actually define the value of your time, everything you do will begin to feel heavier than it actually is. So this number we're about to calculate is not about hustle. It's not about proving anything. It's just about honesty. So let's think about your hourly rate not as a judgment. It's just information. What it tells you is what only you should be doing, what could drain you unnecessarily, and where support could actually create some breathing room in your life. Because if we look at it, if we were to understand our hourly rate of pay, we might be able to see that certain tasks could definitely be outsourced because we could be making more money during the time we would be cleaning. I've had cleaning crews come into my house for 6 hours plus. I could tell you something, I don't ever clean my house 6 hours straight, right? But when they come and they knock it out and my house is sparkling, I feel so nourished and so energized. I'm like queen of the world. This is the moment they actually realize that they're spending high value energy on actually low value task. So I know that doing this could bring you some discomfort. That's good. It usually means you're touching something that's real. Therapy is pretty uncomfortable, isn't it? But doesn't it help you grow? And I assume if you're listening to this podcast, you like growing. Otherwise, we're probably not friends. Nothing really needs to change yet after you do this calculation. We're just here noticing that this is happening. Okay. And so next, after we've calculated this, let me just give you an example. Okay, we're going to type in our hours a day that we're working. We're going to type in the number of days a week, and we're going to type in the weeks a year. That's already kind of preset. But if I were to play with the hours a day I'm working, like as an entrepreneur, I'm going to go work out and I might get in like 4 hours of work a day and 4 days a week, right? I'm a single mom. So then it also takes into account how many vacation, sick, rest weeks you have a year. I went ahead and calculated four. I'd like to travel with my son. We do baseball tournaments. So I just went with four. And you can change these inputs. And when you put in what your annual gross salary is, so, what you're making in your business or on a paycheck, and it'll calculate out what your hourly rate of pay is. Mine just playing with it. I said my annual income was 75,000. I said I work 6 hours a day on this particular spreadsheet, 4 days a week, 52 weeks a year, and with 4 vacation, sick, rest weeks total. That gave me a total working weeks of 48 weeks and total hours working of 1,152 hours in a year, which therefore made my hourly rate of pay $65.10. Okay, so what does that mean? That means anything under that amount that I could outsource, I should be, because I could be making that much if I was working more hours, right? So cleaning ladies, there's so many ideas here, right? And even paying a babysitter 20 hours, $20 an hour could really pay off. Hiring somebody to come get my Christmas tree and taking it away, which I'm doing this weekend, right? That'll take me an hour of time, but cost me about $25 versus my $65 an hour that I could be making and earning. Okay. So the next section after we calculate this, after we kind of digest that number, it's just identifying some opportunities you could hire support, right? And it just talks about, it helps walk you through noticing. I didn't say hire support. It's opportunities for support, right? And support can look like delegating, automating, making systems, asking, exchanging, or letting go of something that doesn't serve you. It is not always about hiring. Sometimes it's about decluttering what we already have. We don't need to be doing everything. Is it really worth $65 an hour for you to be doing that? If you were getting that money in your pocket, would it be worth it? The section isn't just about outsourcing your life. It's really just about protecting your energy because that's where oxygen first comes in. Some tasks don't take that much time, but they take a lot of energy. Context switching, decision fatigue, and mental load, these are invisible drains. And when they add up, we start thinking the problem is us. It's not. It's that you're unsupported. That's actually the problem. We burn out because we don't have a team. We burn out because we're trying to do it all. And that mental load is exhausting. I promise I understand this well. I'm a solo parent to a 13-year-old, and we travel all the time for his baseball. Burnout and fatigue, decision fatigue, they're real. This week was his birthday. We have a birthday party. I have been juggling. I have had more employee issues than you could imagine because it was a full moon and everyone's crazy. All my clients had issues with employees, and we did an outrageous number of write-ups this week. Stuff I love to do, but if I weren't outsourcing other things, I wouldn't do those things well, right? Support doesn't just save time. Let me say that again. Support doesn't just save time. We don't just have teams in corporate America because it just saves time. It actually returns capacity, or it should, when it's working correctly. Capacity to think, capacity to lead, and capacity to breathe. So if you're an entrepreneur listening, this isn't about hiring right now. It's just about understanding where you're carrying too much. And if you're a virtual assistant or support professional who's listening to this podcast, this is why your work matters. You are not just helping, you're protecting momentum and energy with the work that you do in this world. And I, in particular, am so grateful for you. So, next, after the next podcast, when we record about this, the calculator doesn't actually tell you what to do. It just shows you what's already true. And once you see that truth, support stops feeling indulgent and it starts feeling responsible. So if you're ready, the Support and Breathe Return on Investment Calculator is linked in the show notes, or you can go to .rockconsulting.com and find it. And if you're not, that's okay. Just let this episode sit with you. There will be 2 more on this topic, and you can really think about, by not leaning into support, what that's doing for you and your business. Because support begins the moment we allow ourselves to actually receive it. It wasn't the moment I walked in the door and dinner was ready. It was the moment I let myself say yes and receive that. It was the moment I called the house cleaner just to have the conversation. She could have been the wrong fit and we would have kept looking, right? I don't have to marry every house cleaner or every man I go on a date with. Sometimes it's just about seeing what fits. So support is not weakness. It's how we put better energy back into the world. This is Oxygen First. Thank you for listening. If this conversation reminded you that you don't have to do it all by yourself, download my free Support and Breathe calculator. It's a return on investment calculator available at .rockconsulting.com. It's a quick, eye-opening way to see how much time and energy you could reclaim by getting the right support. And that doesn't always mean you actually have to pay for that support. If there's something in this episode that resonated with you, come share your reflections on Instagram at _rock_. I love hearing what lands for you most so that I can create more episodes like that. Remember, if your energy is your greatest asset, protect it, invest in it, and always put on your oxygen mask first. I'll see you next week.